the discussion of tax rate, and Ms. Perkins, you
Yes,
said you
I
have
just
a
wanted to start with a little presentation because we need to rebuild some of our institutional memory. We've lost some board members, and I want to try to build some back, and I want you to ask me questions as we go. First of all, I start every presentation I do with our vision, our mission, our vision, and our beliefs. Our vision is maximizing student learning and achievement. It's very simple. It's not a paragraph. That's what we do. Our vision is preparing all students to be 21st century learners, ready for college, career, and life. And we have 6 or 5 belief statements. We believe all Gallatin County students will be proficient, ready for college, career, and life. Everything we do should be student-centered. Teachers influence learning more than any other factor. Together, our schools, our parents, and community help students reach their highest potentials. And students learn best, and what we want them to know and do is rigorous and relative, and we build positive relationships with them. Everything we do, every decision we make, at the building level, the central office level, at the board level, this is what we base it on. We have 2 big goals in our strategic plan: to get all students proficient on the state assessment, and to increase the percentage of students who are college and career ready from 21% in 2010 to 61% in 2015. That's our 2 big goals. This describes our school district. We're about a district of approximately 1,678 kids, preschool through grade 12. But you have to understand in our lower elementary, we also have early Head Start and Head Start under that roof.
Ms. Perkins?
Yes.
You gave us a statistic of 2010,
Yes.
and
We only had 21% kids
do
ready.
you know what our percentage is?
We're going to probably get that at the next board meeting. Last year we were about at 38 or 40.
Last year?
So we're anticipating seeing that continue to grow.
So it's going in the right direction.
Yes, sir. We are a district between 68 and 70% free and reduced lunch. Martha's telling me we're up to 72. Those forms are still coming in. Our current property tax rate is 67.5. The compensating tax rate for this upcoming year is 67.2. What I am proposing tonight is a property tax rate of 66.6. I also want you to understand that in that 66.6 there are 3 nickels, and actually 4, which I will talk about. The first nickel was added to our taxes in 1990. It basically was a tax levied by most school districts that said if you levy this nickel, you can participate in the School Facilities Construction Commission and borrow money to build buildings. That happened in 1990. In the year 2000, before I became superintendent, we were a growth district, and the Board of Education levied a growth nickel. That nickel can only be used for facilities, for construction or renovation. The first one in 1990, same thing. We were a growth district because we had exhausted our buildings. We were busting at the seams. We did to build buildings, so the board levied a growth nickel. Therefore, we had a dime in 2000. In 2005, the board added a recallable nickel. Well, let me explain what happened then, and I'll probably touch it again on another slide. We were looking at our facilities. Our old building was what is called a Category 5. It's the worst building you could possibly have in Kentucky. So there were in the legislature in 2002, 2003, the legislature decided to get involved and give urgent needs program money. You had to ask for it. I was very naive superintendent in 2002, Dickie. I didn't know I had to go beg a legislator to give Gallatin County Schools money. I went to KDE and brought the facilities management person to Gallatin County and asked them to tour our facilities with us. He knows our building's terrible. 13 different levels. Hargis, you were in that building. No air conditioning, no ADA compliance. Restrooms were terrible. He agreed with me. You're a Category 5. General Assembly comes around in 2003. I'm know we're going to get urgent needs program money. I've had Mark Rouse come in and look at our facilities, we will qualify. The legislature meets in 2003, we don't get any money. We don't get a dime of urgent needs program money to replace our school. And that's when I became very unnaive. I became very knowledgeable of how to play the political game. We had to bring in Senator Dick Roding to tour our facilities. When he saw our facilities, he went to bat for Gallatin County. And he allowed us to get urgent needs program money, $7.5 million to replace our building. In 2005, because we realized very quickly that $7.5 million would not replace our building, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, the board, the facilities planning committee made up of parents and local business people, teachers and administrators, tried to build that building that you see sitting behind us for $7.5 million. And we couldn't do it because during 2005, a tsunami hit in India. And when that hit, construction prices, particularly steel, went through the roof. And our building, which we could have built probably for $100 per square foot, suddenly went to $184 per square foot or something ridiculous like that. And the committee said, "Superintendent, help us. What can we do?" I said, "Well, we got to cut down our building. We're planning for a new building. We got this $7.5 million. We got to figure this out." We started cutting things away. And then we realized we're going to be right back to where we were building in phases. For those of you who have not been in our community all of your life, our lower elementary was built in 3 phases. Our high school has been built in 5 over the course of about 15 years now, and it's still not finished. We're still building, finishing up athletic fields. We still won't be finished. The facilities planning team, "Superintendent, what can you do?" I said, "Our only option is to levy another nickel." That nickel was recallable. In 2005, it was not petitioned, it was never put on a ballot. Therefore, we have 3 nickels in our taxes that all it can go for is facilities construction. In 2008, I got a phone call from then Commissioner of Education, John Drought, former superintendent of Ludlow. He called and said, "Donna, I've gone to the legislature toward you. We are going to equalize one of your nickels. We're going to pay you for that. We're going to give you money." And I'll explain how that happens. So here it is. In 1990, we levied a nickel. All it can be used for is construction. We participate in the SFCC, the FSPK. We added a 2000 growth nickel. We were a growth district. The board levied that additional nickel for capital projects only. And that's when all those interesting things happened in 2002, 2003, when we got awarded urgent needs program money, and we levied an additional nickel. In January of 2005, the General Assembly awards Gallatin County $7.5 million in urgent. This is what they told me. "Superintendent Perkins, you have to use the money or send it back." I couldn't send $7.5 million back. We went to work on planning to build a new school. In July, after the tsunami hit India and construction prices went to the roof, we realized we were back in the building a building in phases, and our community was livid about building another school in phases. So our board levied a recallable nickel to build our upper elementary and middle school all in one phase. It's the only school that has been built in our district in 18 months. The rest of them have been built over years. So here's what our nickel, these are approximate numbers based on last year's tax reports, and see, locally, for the first nickel in 1990, we collect $279,000. The state equalizes that nickel with $249,000. That's the first one. The original growth nickel in 2000, we collect $279,165. That's approximate. That changes and fluctuates every year. The state does not equalize that nickel. In 2005, the recallable nickel, we also collect $279,165, and the state equalizes that nickel at $249,000. The equalized facility funding nickel in 2008, we collect nothing for that, but the state gives us $249,541 for that nickel. Gallatin County is one of only 3 school districts that has 3 of our nickels equalized by the state. In other words, this, folks, we do this to ourselves locally, and because we were willing to do this to ourselves, we were awarded, we were rewarded. We were equalized here, here, and here because we tax ourselves to build our schools. So these are approximate numbers. Locally, each year, we collect approximately $837,000 based on our most recent SEEK information. The state equalizes that amount to $748,000. In other words, Gallatin County, you were willing to tax yourself to get to this, we're going to give you this. And that's what they do. It can only be used for construction or renovation. It cannot be used for textbooks, salaries, buses, books, paper, or anything. That's all it can be used for. Capital projects. It's bricks and mortar. You can look out here, you can touch it, you can put your hands on it. We have bond payments, just like you make house payments. We finance a school building or a school renovation for 20 years. And we are making bond payments to the tune of about $1.7 million annually right now. And we will continue to do so for the next 20 years. A proposed 2013 tax rate of 66.6 will generate approximately $3.4 million. $2.5 million of that, approximately, will go straight to the general fund. $864,000 of it will go straight into our construction fund. Now, these are approximate numbers, and these numbers come off our most recent tax information. So our total general fund budget is $12.1 million. If I throw in food service and our capital projects and our debt service, our total budget is $16.8 million. Our total local tax revenue brings in $4.86. Thank God for the state and federal government for the Gallatin County Schools. Thank God for CARA in 1990 that brought funding to us. Our local property taxes generate $3.4 million. Utility taxes fluctuate. They give us about $1.2 million. And motor vehicle taxes, they bounce up and down, but they'll stay around $260,000. This is what we are generating locally. This is our local revenue from Gallatin County to the Gallatin County schools, $4.86 million. This is our total budget, $12.1 million. If you throw in food service and all those things, it's 16.8. Our proposed tax rate is 66.6. Now remember, our current tax rate is 67.5. We have to collect 5.5 cents. For every nickel. We have to collect 5.5. Why? Well, some people don't pay their taxes. There are exonerations. Some property enters into the Homestead Act where it's not taxed as much. So we collect 5.5 of those 3 nickels, which equals 16.5 cents. So out of every 66.6, 16.5 of it is going straight to bricks and mortar to make bond payments, to build schools, to give our kids the same opportunities they can get in any other school district. So that makes our general fund tax rate 50.1. So if you're going to compare our general fund tax rate, you need to take this number and ask the other school district, how many nickels do you have? Most school districts have 1. So in comparison, that would be 55.1 to use compared to other school districts.
Ms. Perkins, can I interrupt on that?
Yes.
Then you're proposing that our current tax rate is 67.5.
Yeah.
And you are proposing that we reduce it
Yes, sir.
to 66.6.
Yes, sir, I am.
I think the public needs to know that.
We're working on that tonight. Hargis is here. We're videotaping it. This will be available. We'll put it on our website. I want to show you. I couldn't go back to 1990, Vicki. The tax rate was not in the board minutes in 1990. The tax rate in 1992, however, was there, was 48.7. If you subtract the 1 nickel they had, because that's all they had at that time, they didn't have to collect extra. The tax rate in 1992 for the general fund was 43.7. 21 years later, the tax rate is 66.6. You take away the construction nickels, it's 51.1. 50.1. Thank you. Our general fund tax rate has increased 6.4 cents in 21 years. The rest of our taxes, 16.5. things that you can see out here and put your hands on. The bottom line, we are come through and are continuing to proceed through one of the worst economic recessions in our country and of my tenure as superintendent. We have made the necessary cuts and hard choices all along the way since 2008 to live within our means while still working very hard to provide the necessary services to our children. Our district is solvent and on solid financial ground. We were able to provide a 1% salary increase to all employees this year. We will continue to be conservative and monitor the financial realities at the local, state, and federal levels, particularly with sequestration. That's still out there. We don't know what's going to happen with the federal government. My recommendation is to roll our tax rate back to the 2000 rate of 66.6 per $100 of assessed value. Your discussion.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
How did you come to the 66.6?
How did we come? Well, that was where we were back in 2012. Look, I'll tell you what I did. You got the spreadsheet with those amounts on.
I understand. The reason I'm asking that question, a week ago Friday I spoke with you and I asked you what your recommendation was, and you said your recommendation was for the board to take the compensating tax rate, which would mean not 66.6. So
I did not
know
have
there
a
was-
full analysis done when I talked to you on the phone, Mr. Carter.
that was a week ago, and I
Right.
know, I
Had
just
you
want to lay
received
it out
your
on,
spreadsheet at that time?
not this other little spreadsheet that you had sent out, but I want to make it clear that I want to thank Mr. Tinch for his work in getting us to that 66.6, because that in reality is where that number came from. I think we all know that you have been raising taxes, and I would much rather you
Ms. Murray, I
stay
haven't
on
raised
that.
taxes. The last 2 years, we've taken the compensating rate, which generates
But
the
let me
same
finish.
amount of money that we received in the prior year minus new property.
I would much rather you stay on the stance that you were on and continue raising taxes. Nothing has really changed financially in this board since some of these new board members have came on. There has not been an increase. There has not been any major change that warranted some of the decisions that could have been made, say, a year ago. This financially.
What are you speaking about?
Well, I mean, we did a 1% raise, which wasn't much. I would like to see it more. But I guess my point here is this. A week ago, you were wanting the compensating rate, which...
I will always ask for the compensating rate.
Okay. But I want to make it clear that Mr. Tange worked very hard in working with others and developing that 66.6. Is that not where that number came from, 66.6?
That was the number that Mr. Tainter suggested at a board meeting, yes, sir.
Okay, so that's where the 66.6 actually came from, then, was a board member?
Yes.
Okay,
There
thank
was a discussion we had at a board meeting.
Okay.
Correct, Alex?
That is correct. I have a question or a thought. Since you're recommending this, I assume the board will approve it. Is there any reason why we can't set the tax rate right now?
No, sir, there's not. If you want to do that, I would encourage you.
Then make a recommendation, we set the tax rate to 66.6.
I'll second.
Mr. Tinch moves for the tax rate of 66.6.
That's a
Ms.
reduction.
Carpenter?
What is that a reduction?
From 67.5 to 66.6, 1.2 point, what do you got? You got in front of you?
0.9.
It's
And Mr. Murray seconded. Mr. Tinch, you made your motion ordered.
No, just that we set it 66.6.
And Mr. Murray seconds, so we'll have discussion or any more discussion?
And just clean up item, I think in setting it, we had set the 66.6, which would cover the real estate, the personal, and the motor vehicle gets set at what is already mandated.
Yes.
I forget that exact number.
Correct.
Does that need to be in the body of the
Yes, it
motion?
does. And again, I'll clean that up for you so we get the vote.
I can't see without those digits. I bet you I could see out of that.
Curtis had asked if the board could or could not set it in, of course, it would be your way. The only limiting factor that the board is under is that we've got 45 days from the date that we got the audit, or I'm not sure what it's called.
The
What
tax
they call
information
it.
by the rates.
The tax information. We've got 45 days, or it's set for us. So that's the September 9th or 10th date. Any more discussion, comments from anyone?
I would just like to say she had mentioned thank God for the state and federal and so forth.
I would like to thank our community for the taxes that they do put forth and bearing with us and doing the best we can for our children.
I agree, Chad. I don't disagree with that at all. Very, very appreciative of the support of the community. What we've been able to accomplish is amazing over the last 11, 12 years. We have come very, very far. We got a long way to go. Short time to get there, it feels like sometimes.
I would echo those sentiments, and I also would say that as far as Ms. Perkins is concerned, if there had been any other superintendent, any other person who'd been superintendent at the time we got the money from the state to build that building back here, it wouldn't have happened. I think only Ms. Childs was on the board at that time, and if it had been anyone else but her, in my firm belief, and that's all it is my
You on
belief,
there?
it wouldn't have
Give
happened.
yourself credit for it.
No, Ms. Perkins did it. And I give her the credit for that.
Well, you gave some.
And I appreciate the board has made great decisions, David. I mean, they have. You all made some great decisions to push us forward. And as long as we keep looking ahead and having a vision where we want our district to go, it's very important. We can't live just in the moment.
Okay, any more discussion? Any other comment? Motion? All in favor of the motion? All 5 voting for, none against. And that'll move us to the next category, which is number 5, consent items.